Welcome to Verified, the social commerce podcast. I'm David Vanderveen.
And I'm Peter Griscom. And in this episode, we're going to sit down with the incredible Dr. Kellyann, who is a naturopathic doctor who turned a bone broth diet into a 9-figure wellness brand. So let's get into it.
You know, Dr. Kellyann, you've basically, you were doing content to commerce before almost anyone. You built the brand off books, PBS specials, TV appearances. When did you realize media was the engine and not the marketing?
One of the things that always fascinated me was people like Dr. Mercola. And then you had companies like Goop. And I would watch them go through this creation process. And then I'd watch them start to go into commerce, into sales. And I found it really fascinating. So because I tracked this so early, I had that in the back of my mind, and I knew that nothing was going to happen without trust, that you needed compounded trust, and that we're in this incredible time and this incredible marketing opportunities that we have where we can create compounded trust like no one could ever before. And so that was always of great interest of mine.
That's fantastic. No, I totally get that. And I think part of building trust is telling an authentic story to yourself, right? Your story is really personal. You've said your own endometriosis and the experience of being dismissed by doctors is what set you on this path. When did that personal story stop being a private motivation? Well, maybe you can tell us that personal story. I'd love to know, how you got here. How'd you get to this point today? But also, when did that personal story stop being a private motivation, become the actual brand?
When I was younger, I was missing a lot of school early on because I had something called endometriosis, which meant incredible pelvic pain for days upon days. And we kept going to doctors. My mom would schlep me around from doctor to doctor. The answers were always the same, which was, we're going to have to take out parts of your anatomy. That's the only way that this is going to work, which will mean that you can't have children. And by the way, based on your diagnosis, you probably can't have kids anyway. Bam, spark. That was the pinnacle moment where I developed this thing in me that said, I'll figure it out. I'll figure it out. And I think that this is highly necessary for any entrepreneur. I think, qualities of an entrepreneur has to be, you have to handle a lot of pressure. You have to handle pressure like you're drinking water. Right. It has to be nothing to you. And you also have to develop this thing inside of you where you just can figure stuff out and it doesn't burden you and you don't feel, but it was there that I developed this. And I learned that there are other ways. It was, I ended up going on at what they call an anti-inflammatory type of diet. And I realized the power of this. And part of my education was training at through the Paracelsus Clinic in Switzerland. I trained for 2 years under Dr. Thomas Rao, who would talk about things like gut health, anti-inflammatory foods before it was ever brought over in the States. And that's why I started writing books. And that's where so much came into my being and into my frontal lobe, so to speak.
Wow. So that became a deeply personal story that drove you to get the education. How did you transition that from something that you were working on personally to a story that you were telling to the world that the world was responding to? I mean, to launch the bone broth diet, you built an email list of 40,000 plus people in 5 months with a quiz funnel and Facebook ads. How did this all gel together from personal, overcoming a personal problem into, the audience that you have today?
People were ready to hear it because here's what's great about bone broth. You talk about story building, and this is why I love the platforms. This is why I love social commerce. You're controlling the data and you're controlling the narrative, and you can do so beautifully. And when you have something like bone broth that literally every culture loves, historically it's documented tribes, bands, hunter-gatherers. You have all of these narratives, but of course there was one big problem, and that is nobody wanted to stand over a pot for hours and hours. And that's where the brand came into being.
Yeah, making bone broth is difficult, right?
That was a whole different story. I had all these moms with kids hanging off of them. Dr. Kellyann, are you out of your mind?
Right. I remember my sister-in-law making it, and I was like, "What are you doing? I mean, did you kill somebody? What's happening in that pot?" How much of the brand is very personal to you. How much of the brand today is your personal story? And then, how do you scale a personality brand without losing yourself? And also, how do you extend it beyond yourself?
Beautiful question, David. So personality brands used to be almost impossible. You were really threading a needle. But I will use a word, and if there's one word I hope everyone can gain from this conversation, and it's compounded trust by building an ecosystem.
Yes. I love
That
that.
is how you build this. That is how you do it despite any challenge you could have. And if you don't think building a personality brand is tough, we got to talk. It's 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 way harder than most brands, but I did achieve that. I think it's almost more incredible that a personality brand was built as opposed to getting bone broth out into the world. They're both equally hard. But at that time, I said, look, I'm not going to work on building one customer at a time. I was very clear on I am going to focus on lifetime value, not one purchase, not one customer, but lifetime value. So DTC, that is where you have the most control, not only on margin, but you have the most control on what you want to put out into the public. You've got Amazon, which is great, but it's fueled with competitors. There's cost associated. Retail is harder to get into, and you're not going to make the margins less. So you have to have all of them,
Yeah.
but you have to lead with DTC.
I know when you talk about DTC, that's where you guys got started. And since then, now the business, to your point, has become omnichannel. How has that influenced, the growth of the business, the unit economics, how you're spending from a marketing perspective? Because the business seems to have shifted so much with you're now in, Costco and you're in all of these major retailers. How has that changed how you allocate spend and your marketing budgets?
Well, actually, we're putting more spend to different kinds of media now than we put before. So I would say we're probably DTC, we're probably at about 25% now. But you have to know, I'm with a manufacturer. That is my partner. And because of that, it gives me more leeway to do more products. It gives me more leeway to be in retail because of previous relationships, and I've had previous relationships as well. So between the two of us, we've got great relationships, and he can fast dial things. So one of the future, we have to add this into the ecosystem as well. Online selling through QVC still works. It still has some punch. And because I'm with a manufacturer, I'm really able to make that a bigger part, QVC, a bigger part of the metrics than most companies probably could.
How did I have a question, like on QVC and TikTok Live, and a lot of similarities. What's the overlap? What did you learn from QVC on television that translated to TikTok Live? And how's that affecting your portfolio decisions? I mean, I love it that you've got this. I know the manufacturer you're working with, great guy. How did that affect, what did you learn from one that really affected the other? And how does that affect, is it the same products you're selling on both? Did you custom manufacture some products for different channels? How does that work?
Yes, we do custom manufacture for different channels. We definitely do that. We custom manufacture for QVC, TikTok. We manufacture in the same way we would any other online product. It's the same. But your performance has got to be different. They're very different audiences. You have to always know your cohort everywhere you go, every single place you go. So what did I learn? TikTok quicker. You have to be.
Instant.
The word I would use is cool.
Right.
It's a cool flair and it's a quick flair. Where QVC, they still want to be educated.
Yeah.
So it's like a short form video. You're doing a short form video for QVC, and you're doing Snapchat for TikTok. It's
What's
quick.
the demographic difference between those two? I mean, who's watching QVC? Who's
Skewing
watching
much
TikTok?
younger.
Yeah.
Skewing much younger at TikTok. Talk skews younger. So now they are starting to. Everybody's learning everything on TikTok. What I
Sure.
love about TikTok is
Yeah.
everybody's talking about. Like I never thought I'd go to a gym and hear the kids say, I'm not getting that shake. It has seed oil in it. Oh, did you do your red light this morning? Oh,
Right.
what do you think about this peptide? Never. I mean, I sit there, my jaw hits the. You have to
TikTok
understand the
recipes
first.
blow out grocery stores, right? I mean, it's amazing.
I mean, so the first half of my career, all I did was convince, convince, convince. That's how I learned to speak so well, I think. And I think one of the ways I was able to bust through is that I did a couple things different than my colleagues. I knew that I was in the entertainment business. I was very clear on that. I still had the science. I had the authenticity. You'll never see one thing in me. I was raised in a home of purity of soul. You will never get anything from me that is not truth. So, so they feel that. They
Right.
feel that. But I also was very clear that I'm in the entertainment business. And so a lot of my colleagues, I'm head to toe. I am prepared every time. I am going to look 100% every time. You won't catch me not looking 100%. That is, that is my Dr. Kellyann persona. We all
Absolutely.
have that.
Yeah.
So my Dr. Kellyann persona, you're going to get head to toe all the time. And I am going to be there directly focused on you, directly focused all the time. And so all of these things, they seem slight, but they're not. And taking information, and again, this whole knowing your cohort thing, it's not to be dismissed because you have to know how to speak. You
Yes.
have to know you have to know what words to use, how to use them, how far to go. So all of these things, you have to consider all of this and it has to become rote.
Do you use retail to like introduce the product and then have people come subscribe back on your homepage, or are people just buying in retail and not subscribing?
Everything,
Yeah.
everything
It all
that we
comes
do
together.
feeds in.
Yeah.
Everything that we do feeds into everything. That's part of the ecosystem again. One thing, like you're going to get bestseller badges on Amazon when you start doing DTC and you flood in and you start getting the continuity. And you can't do a retail deal now without telling them that you're going to spend XYZ in marketing. It doesn't work that way.
Right.
All the old rules have changed.
Right.
They've all changed because everything is flooded now. You have all these competitors that are offering all these promises, all these different price points. It's very, very different now. Like when I started now, oh my gosh. Channel mix is different, attention is different, everything.
You're such a like to your point, a great personality. It's a personality-led brand. You've got this subject matter expertise from writing these books, being a naturopathic doctor. But then when you come into selling actual products, now we've got these regulatory bodies of the FTC and what can you say, what can't you say? And you have uniquely mastered being compliant and doing QVC and doing TikTok. How have you managed to do that and still deliver that value, right? How have you managed to continue to sell, but not oversell the product?
Observing and knowing how to tell a story. It's all in how you tell the story. And because I grew up Italian, that's all we do. So it was very innate to me. And so so you have a product. Oh gosh, can I talk about bone broth and its gut healing potentiality? Nope, you can't talk about gut health. Okay. So you go on air and you say, oh, I love this product because, I know so many people that had digestive issues and, became very important to me to really work on what can I do to solve this problem? Am I saying that bone broth is solving the problem? I'm saying that in my past, came across so many people that had so many digestive woes, so many, as you get older, that digestive system, that peristalsis, it just starts slowing down. And what does that mean for you? It means your metabolism starts slowing down. So it became very important to me. I want to develop a toolbox to help people really have a great digestive system. So I told them it was for gut health, but I didn't say gut health. So it's all about how you tell the story. You would not believe the testimonials we have. In fact, Keith and I were just talking about this. Is like, why are we talking about opening up a package and putting it in the water? We need to start. What's fascinating about this business is not how you can open a packet and stick it in water. It's all these people that are saying it did this, 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 and this. Let them say it. They're your billboards. You got to call in the troops. You have to know how to build out, all this leverage. Again, I'm always thinking, like I think of the body, I think about the body as your internal milieu. I always think about that. That's how I make my decisions with food and life for my body. And I think about business as an ecosystem. My body, it's an internal milieu. For outward, for my business, it's this ecosystem that I'm always cultivating. It's not just one customer. It's how many customers can I get for most of their life? It's their lifetime value. How do you do that? It's always through a nurturing campaign, whether that nurturing is in person, whether that nurturing is online shopping, whether it's telling them the benefits, whatever it is, you're constantly bam, 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 nurturing all the time.
Well, and I think focus on helping people, not selling them, right? I think you do that so well. It comes from a natural place as a naturopathic doctor, as well as, have you solve your own problems. Help us think about this a little bit as we go back in time and you're thinking about starting this. I know you said your father was a barber and you didn't come from a lot of money. You had to do this very, bootstrap it. You did it from your basement. If you were starting over, Dr. Kellyann, today, how would you have done it differently? Is there anything you would have changed? And then following that, what's the one piece of advice you'd have for a founder trying to start a media first brand today like you did?
Well, first of all, I would stay relentlessly focused. Once you hit, they come out of the woolworks. I mean, it's unbelievable. It's unbelievable. Like you're like a nothing to anybody. Then all of a sudden, it's different. I would build recurring revenue immediately. I would not wait. I would start building an ecosystem day one. I would use AI to move faster, but I would also realize that I can't build trust with AI.
Right.
And I would be very aware of that.
If it smells like AI, people don't trust it.
Yes, exactly. It doesn't build trust or vision. And I would protect my ownership like I protect growth. I would have things locked, stocked, and barreled. And I would understand that because you don't want to be in the, Wagyu buying steak business. So I would
tell us about that a second. I actually think you should dig into that a second. When you say you want to own
it. Do you?
Yeah. But because look, you pioneered a category. Other brands have come behind you and benefited from that. They're fast followers. Yeah. I mean, tell us about what you mean by that and what the Wagyu steak means.
Yeah, what it means is that, first of all, when you're first to the market, it seems so glamorous. Oh my God, she created it. There was not a single dried bone broth packet. Like, you have to understand what this took. Like, can I do it? Should I do it?
Right.
And I'm trying to figure out inventory in my basement. You realize how funny that is? You have to realize,
who wants this thing they've never seen before? Yeah.
Been there, done that.
Okay, who wants this thing? And I can't even get it to smell good.
Right.
Okay, so it's like a whole thing. I'm putting on more hats than you could possibly imagine. Okay, that's one thing. But then CVS came to me, and I was in my basement. And CVS came to me, and they said, we're going to launch this big product, this big program. We want you to be in it. I didn't go to them at all. They came to me, and they said, we're going to do Bulletproof. They were big at the time. Vital Proteins, and you. We're going to launch with you three. And I'm thinking, I'm in my basement. This is cool.
Yeah.
This is great. Little did I know, you need so much cash to go into retail. Yeah. You need so much everything. And you don't know what you don't know. That was when I realized I needed a partner. That's when I realized that I can't do this on my own. So that's where a lot of the lessons were learned. So the big thing that I would do differently is that I would understand that my value, because I don't know if I did. I don't know if I understood my value and what I really brought to the table, because it's very hard to have somebody, of course there's the big celebrities and they're going to work. You're going to have the Beckhams and the Kardashians. They're going to work.
Sure,
okay.
Sure.
But when you have an expert that's out there that has the knowledge base that I do, and they go out into the public and they can get ROAS, that's a big deal.
Sure.
That's a big deal. And they consistently work. And so I would just make sure, like, moving forward, I would understand now, like, I wish I understood how business worked then, like every part of business. I wish I understood what to ask for, what to let go, what to put in lock, stock, and barrel. I wish I understood the operational part of that part of the business better than I do now. I didn't, but I do now. But you just have to understand, you have to protect what you build as much as what you're building.
As you look at your business, right? Let's assume, the next year you had 30% less revenue. What is the first thing that you would cut? What's the last thing you'd cut? And where would you actually invest more if your revenue was down? What would you focus on?
It's a great question again. If my revenue really started going to the wayside, my margin is so good with this current company. It's like a protective mechanism. We're at like 30%. We're very, very profitable. So that cushions that. I'll say that. I would probably focus more on the media that we know works. I would focus more on the media and retail. It's a slow burn with retail. You're going to make money with retail, but it's a lot of output and there's way more uncertainty. I would focus on things that I can control. And I feel like with a lot of like the CTV and things, like I work on that kind of stuff. I work on, a lot of the I work on a lot of the platforms. I don't know if I would focus. I know some people kill it on TikTok. My issue with TikTok, and I can't wait to go to the summit and learn more. My issue with TikTok is that I like to constantly, and I think you've gotten that from this conversation. I want to build customers that stick. I always use that stick, because I know how business goes like this, and I want
LTV.
that.
Yeah.
I want that security. So I know if people see me and they hear me and they watch me, I know they're going to hit the buy button. I know. So I would do things that I knew that I was, and I'd also immediately relaunch a book that will never go away, because when you have a book and you know what to do with the book, it gives you the media exposure. You have a calling card. You have your narrative for 2 years. That's why I have all these books, because it gives you the narrative. You know your talking points. You know your focus. So I know the next thing I want to build in nutrition. I know it. I have it in my head. And the first thing I'm going to do in order to launch that is I know that I'm going to come out with a book and I'm going to tell people the benefits before it's even out. I'm going to seed that book with everything I need to do. I did that with every single thing that I built. I seeded a book first.
You know what I love about that, Kellyann? One, you're an expert, right? You've already done the education. You've got the chops. And a lot of people are building that without necessarily the credentials, but by doing the work, which I think is not quite equally valid, but still valid. But I love the idea that you write it out. And I'm a writer by trade as well.
Me too.
There's a huge difference. And Amazon has this practice internally where they don't allow decks. You have to write memos. And the reason is because a deck is like a coffee conversation. You can talk about anything. You can spin up ideas. The real meat and bones comes together when you actually have to articulate the idea and work through the details. And that's part of why I love memos. I love actually articulate emails, not just, chit chat. And I think that's sort of getting lost in some of the AI use that's happening right now. So I love that you talked about, actually writing a book. You're thinking
Can I tell
through
you,
the
I
idea.
wrote my PBS specials, David. I wrote them. And I worked very closely with the producer. I did 4, 3 out of the 4. The fourth one I couldn't because it was with a company that they did it. So, but 3 out of the 4 I wrote. And I will tell you, it was the best thing I ever did. When I tell you I was spot on, every time I went on an interview, they're like, you crushed it. You're talking. Yeah, because this is a way that you organize your brain, your business, your customers. You sit down and it forces you to be in a place where everything is organized in your brain, because we have all this stuff jostling up in your brain, and you have to be pro. You got to step on that stage anyway. You got to do that podcast anyway. It doesn't matter in this business. You can't be flaky. So you show up, you have all this in your brain and it's cataloged and organized. It is priceless. That is the biggest caveat of having a book, is that it organizes you for about 1.5 years.
And I think it's, to your point, when you can actually write it, you can articulate it, it becomes internalized, you have a depth of knowledge. And then when you go on a podcast or you have to do a soundbite, you've got this wealth of knowledge you can pull from where it just clicks and you're focusing on the audience, not focusing on what you're trying to say.
I think there's one thing I want to say that I want everybody to know if they're thinking about, I've got this great idea for a category build. I want everyone to know, this is very important, that the dedication that it takes is really supernatural.
Yes.
Because you're going to have to spend a lot of money. You just are. And it's going to take a lot of time. And I had to keep my day job while doing this with 2 kids, with being away all the time.
Right.
Okay. Because I couldn't give up my day job. I got to fund this thing. So it was a lot of risk. I was not averse to risk. It was, again, when you know. And that little template inside of me is my Richter scale. So when another idea comes to mind, I know exactly what it's going to take to do that. And I think, it's still a maybe. Like, with bone broth, I was like, full speed ahead. I cannot believe what this stuff does. Full speed ahead. It has to be full speed ahead for me because you have to understand the sacrifice that this thing is going to take. So you have to be able to take pressure. You have to handle risk. You have to know the time that this is going to take and the money it's going to take to build. And is it worth it? And would I do it again? Hell yes.
What else are you going to do?
It sets me on
Amazing.
fire.
Well, thank you so much, Kellyann. I mean, it's amazing. Tell people where they can find your brand, where they can find you. What are your socials, website? Give us the rundown on where people can find you.
Yeah, the best place to find me if you want to look at my product portfolio and such, it's drkellyann.com. No E at the end, drkellyann.com. And then go on Instagram, Dr. Kellyann, and you'll find me everywhere.
Echoing Peter, thank you, Dr. Kellyann. This has been the Verified Social Commerce Podcast. We're so glad everyone found us here. You can find us wherever you subscribe to podcasts, as well as on all of the social commerce links that you use regularly. It's Verified. Come find us, subscribe, and join us as we talk to operators who are making social commerce happen.